Hello, I'm Jay, and welcome to Jay Designs. Today, I'm not designing anything. We're going to do a rig walk around on my truck here. Let's dive right into it. The most notable mods on this truck, I've got Michelin wiper blades, Rain-X wiper fluid, a tumbler that looks exactly like the Toyota oil filter, and some stuff on the tires. With that, I'm Jay. You've been watching Jay Designs, and thank you so much for watching. All right, I'm just kidding. As you can see, there are some pretty notable things done to this truck. Let's walk around, but we'll start right here at the front hitch. As you can see, the bumper's completely gone. The approach angle right here is as best as it can possibly be. With this setup right here, this is actually 6 pounds lighter than the factory setup. I built this front hitch myself. If you haven't seen that video, I'll link it up here. I decided not to do a big heavy front bumper on this guy, mainly just because it's not in the weight budget. So I've got a lot coming for this truck, including a flatbed and a camper that you'll see on this channel. A big heavy 200-pound front bumper plus a 70-pound winch up here is just too much weight, I think. At some point, if it is in the weight budget, I'll come back and rebuild this, and I'll do a grill protection right here for when we're on long-term trips. You'll notice there's no aftermarket recovery points on this front hitch. For that, I'm just going to use a flat link like that with either a soft shackle or a D-ring. And also for self-recovery, I'm just going to use a remote mount winch that slides in the hitch here. Let me go grab that winch for you real quick and we'll slide it in the hitch here. So, using a remote mount front winch. The reason why I do this is I want to keep the front end of the truck very light. That keeps a really good responding vehicle. It responds well to the driver's inputs. I like whipping this thing. I like going fast, so front weight is really not indicative of a fast moving vehicle. Oh, and I am going to be doing grill protection in the future as well when I rebuild this thing. So at the top of the hood here, I have these Baja Designs S1s. These lights are great in my opinion. They have a really good beam pattern. They don't draw a ton of power and they're quite a small package. You'll notice I do not have any ditch light brackets. They're just drilled straight through the hood. I've done this on 3 trucks and sold 2 trucks that I've drilled through the hood for. In my opinion, that's the best way to mount ditch lights. So looking at the engine bay cover, she's pretty much stock. I deleted the engine cover. So looking at the windshield washer fluid bottle here, I pretty much leave it usually emptier than this actually. It's full because of that opening Rain-X cutscene. I just don't see the point of having all the weight of this thing on the front of the truck full all the time. So usually I have it way down here as the fill level. Another way to tell this truck is a TRD is she gets a special master cylinder. That's how it does all the A-track stuff and whatnot. Pretty much the only like mod under here is that guy right there. So it's just a Switch Pro. Mount it to the grill here via custom brackets. I only have 2 things on her right now. That's the transmission cooler and the Baja Designs S1s. And also coming to the truck, I'm gonna put this beauty right here. So this is a 2-pound battery relocation bracket, and I'm gonna move this big heavy 45-pound battery to the rear of the truck on the flatbed when I build that, and that should improve turn-in response quite a bit. Let me pull the grill and I'll show you the trans cooler. Look at the little kitten. He's so cute. You cute little thing. Anyways. So with the grill off, the truck is absolutely ugly. But there's the trans cooler. So your factory one is this little tiny one right here, and it's actually partially blocked by the bumper. Anyways, we got a big aftermarket one. And the most notable thing about this guy, can't really see it, but there's a fan on the back. That's what that part is right there. The whole point of the fan is when you're doing slow speed stuff on the trail, like below 5 miles an hour, it doesn't really matter how big of a transmission cooler you have. There's just not a lot of air going to get over that transmission cooler when you're doing 5 miles an hour, and you're really generating a lot of heat in the torque converter. So with the fan on, it can pull air, 30 mile an hour air over the cooler when the truck's only doing 5 miles an hour, for example. And also, as you can see, grill backlights. I'll do B-roll of that. Then we're going to take a look at my mirror. I know what you're thinking. Is a mirror really a mod? Yeah, I think so. If you're an avid off-roader, I would highly recommend getting these guys. This little D-shaped mirror here allows you to actually see your rear tire when you're off-road, and it does great for helping you place the vehicle on the trail and not whacking your bedsides on trees and stuff like that. Not that I have any bedsides. We'll get to that in a second. Also, this guy lets you see the parking lines and stuff like that, so you don't park like a dummy or whatever. And also for on-road, this mirror will let you see over like 2 or 3 lanes. So I think it improves driving safety. Highly recommend them. I will not own a vehicle without one of these. All right, so now we'll move down the side of the truck here. And I know what you're thinking. What the heck is that masterpiece? I'm just kidding, it's not a masterpiece. It's a work in progress, I promise. All right, so talking about why the truck looks the way that it does. Essentially, I wanted a flatbed for this thing. I was originally going to use the factory bed floor. I was going to use the factory bed floor because that saves me a lot of money and a lot of time in fabrication. I had initially made a little extension brackets. You can see one there, and you can see it here on the other side. And all that would have done is made a little extension so that the flatbed will be full width. I decided not to use the factory bed because it would have just been kind of weird joining the steel extension that would be here or an aluminum extension to the fiberglass or composite bed. I did start a flatbed build. I didn't like that one, so I scrapped it. You will be seeing me making a flatbed on this channel soon. I have rock slider build coming up next, and then I'm starting the flatbed build. So stay tuned for that. This guy right here is just an air compressor that it's just, the flap is just covering my license plate, so you can't see it. Anyways, why I want to build a flatbed is I want to build a camper in the back of this thing, and you can have a slide-in camper that works with a normal truck bed, but the bedsides really just get in the way of the camper. So with bedsides, it like raises the center of gravity and stuff like that. You have better cooling with the bedsides out of the way for different features on the camper, and just better access to the camper in general. I don't know how long it's going to take me to get to that camper build. It may take me a little while, but stay tuned, and I assure you it is coming. For me personally, that camper build has been in the works for about a year. I've been saving up a lot of money, trying to get the time off to build it. It is most definitely happening, so stay tuned. So another awesome thing about the bed is these tracks right here that comes with these little movable guys here that you can just strap down to. You can see I have one here, 3 along the top there, in the middle obviously. Having these guys are super awesome. It allows you to strap down loads in all kinds of weird ways. Definitely gonna have that on the next flatbed that I'm building. And what's that? The truck has airbags? Well, sorta. They're not mounted to the truck now because as I build the flatbed up, I don't want any weld spatter going down and burning any holes in the bags. I don't remember the name of the airbag kit, but I'll put the name right here. I have the Daystar cradles that allow the airbag to actually fall away from the chassis. So normally the bag is connected to the chassis and the axle, so it limits your articulation. I've modified the factory bracket, and I actually will be revising this again. I'm going to essentially eliminate this bump stop because the bags act as your bump stop at that point, and I didn't know that initially. I want to run airbags with the camper because that way it'll make it super easy to load and unload the camper. I'm going to do that with the airbags. All I have to do is charge the airbags from the interior with this little guy here. So it's got a paddle for each airbag, and I can air them up and down from the interior of the truck. To unload the camper, we just charge the airbags, raise the bed of the truck all the way up, put the legs in the camper, drop the bed of the truck down, and then drive out from underneath the camper. It should make the unloading and loading of the camper super easy. So airbags will also allow for a variable spring rate at the rear of the truck. With a normal setup, if you wanted to have a big heavy camper on the back, we would need to run a super beefy rear spring, and that way when the camper's off of the truck, that spring rate will be way too stiff and the ride on the rear would be really, really rough. With an airbag, if there's no load, you can just take the air out of the bag, and then you have a factory spring rate back. And then when we have a big load in the rear, we can just load, we can put pressure into the airbag, and then we have a spring rate that matches the load that's in the bed of the truck. All right, so moving around the back of the truck here, the truck does have rear tail lights, sorta. What I'm using for that right now is just one of these LED strips that generally goes up underneath your tailgate. This does have reverse, turn signals, brake lights, running lights, and all that. And that just runs off the factory 7-pin trailer connector. Moving around to the rear of the truck. So The exhaust normally looks like that. I've knocked this part of it off because this part is subject to getting crushed when you're on the trail. Most people go and they cut their exhaust off about right there. I decided to keep it to this point here because it just provides more support because you have that exhaust hanger right there. So now we're going to hop into the bed of the truck. So as you can see, very bright. I white roofed it. The reason why it's got a white roof is because it's kind of a dark colored truck, and I think this white vinyl wrap does a lot to make the interior of the truck a lot cooler. You'll see there's a little extension that goes a little further down than the rest of it. The reason why I did that is because the sunglass holder, I pulled my sunglasses out of the sunglass holder that's in the top of the cab before, and like the rubber on my sunglasses were literally like gummy. So yeah, and with this it doesn't do that. Also, I've deleted the factory Sirius satellite shark fin that would normally go right there and left it cut out in the vinyl for that. I took that off because of the camper. Again, I want the camper to tuck as low as possible to the top of the cab, and this shark fin would have made the camper about 3 inches higher. So looking at the wheel and tire combo, the tires are Hankook Dynapro ATs, and the rims are Ultra 164s. I've had this wheel and tire combo for like 5 years. It's been on 3 different trucks, and I'd definitely buy the tires again, no doubt. Another really cool little thing is this valve stem right here. I don't know if you can really call this a mod or not, but it's pretty cool. Now, I actually like these little valve stem caps better than an actual air down tool. This is a lot easier to use. You just unscrew it off your valve stem, screw it in there, pull the valve core, and then you just use the same tool you would use to check tire pressure while you're airing up for when you're airing down. And then when you're done, just stick the valve core back in there, screw the cap right back on, and you're done. So speaking about airing up, for now, I just have one of these crappy little tiny 12-volt air compressors that I carry in the truck with me. But I actually do have an ARB single and an ARB twin. They're right here. So this ARB single was mounted on another truck, and the ARB twin is going to go on this truck. Once I get the flatbed built, it's going to mount underneath the flatbed, about right in front of the tires there. Be horrible to service, but it'll keep the air compressor nice and out of the way and in a relatively clean spot. Moving on to suspension now. I'm running the Bilstein 8112s. Not many people are running these things right now, probably because they're expensive. I love these things. The best way to describe the ride on these shocks is smooth. It doesn't matter whether you're doing small, high-frequency bump stuffs or hitting really big G-outs where you're using all of the suspension travel. It's just pretty much smooth no matter what. They're really great. As you can see, no upper control arm here. I think I want to be that guy that just doesn't run upper control arms. Hey, Editing Jay here. I just want to say at some point I will do an explainer on what's going on the inside of these shocks. I'll put a picture of that up here right now. It is an absolute brain bleed to understand what's going on inside those shocks, but it's really cool engineering, so I want to try to explain it the best I can. Essentially, they are bypass shocks squeezed into a 2.5-inch shock diameter body. It's really cool technology. At some point, I'll do an explainer on it, but we'll just show you the rears. If you don't know what bypasses are, it's okay. I'll explain that at some point. And here's the rear bypass shocks. Remote resi. There's your bypass tubes, independent compression rebound adjustability. Yeah, she's a beauty. So, and the interior of the truck now. My philosophy with the whole interior of the truck is just to keep it super simple. Again, this is what makes a TRD off-road a TRD off-road. That is the rear diff lock button. Love to see that. It's an off-road truck, so I got a phone mount right here, just screwed right into the dash. Super nice to actually have the phone mounted right here. That way I can see any notifications that pop up, and I don't have to look very far away from the road to look at GPS, for example. Phone charger obviously goes right in there. Another thing I want to cover real quick, I have a OBD reader down in the OBD port, and I run all kinds of metrics to my phone here, so it's nice to see like transmission temperature, intake temp, coolant temp, stuff like that right there. You'll notice she's completely stock. Navigation is all done by my phone. Down here in the center console, I carry a lighter, a little headlamp. These things are an absolute must when you're working on stuff at night. And I've just got a custom cardboard center console thing. I know, that's where my T50 bit went. Right here, koozies, that's an absolute must. And this one here is magnetic. If you're wondering what I just stuck that thing to, that is a dimmable red light. The reason why you want red lights is because bugs aren't attracted to red light, and 2, red light doesn't distort your night vision as much. Dimmable is just a nice feature. And the control switch for that guy is right down here. Super simple. You'll also notice here's the S-Pod that I showed you underneath the hood of the truck. Looking in the center console here, this guy is not permanently installed, but this is the paddle switches for the airbags once they're installed. That'll keep that super clean and out of the way, and I'll be able to adjust the airbags from the interior of the truck. Also, another really quick thing, it's probably kind of hard to see, the Weathertech floor mats. These things are super great because it's super easy to just take them and clean them out of your truck just like that. So just looking at the location of the S-Pod controller right here, it's super nice as you're driving down the road. I can literally just feel which button I want and turn off and on lights or accessories without even looking off the road. Relating to keeping the interior of the truck cool, obviously sun deflector, as you know, the roof of the truck is white on the top obviously. And I have this window completely covered up because as the driver of the vehicle, and because I have these mirrors, I do not need to see out of this window here. So might as well improve the thermal efficiency of the interior of the truck. It's just a sheet of Reflectix and it's super easy to remove if I have somebody sitting in the back seat. I also have a full set of those guys that I've made for every single window. That way if I'm parking the truck up for a couple days out in the middle of nowhere, I don't want people seeing what the kind of stuff I have in the interior of the truck. I can fully black out the interior of the truck. Another important mod here, right behind the driver's door, fire extinguisher. So I've moved the truck into a slightly more shady location for the outro. Shady as in like cool, not shady as in sketchy. I hope you enjoyed the truck build. There's a lot to come for this thing, so please stay tuned. With that, I'm Jay. You've been watching Jay Designs, and thank you so much for watching. Follow along with the build at oak_taco on Instagram. No, there's actually stuff on the tire.